Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe. Welcome all you cool ghouls and friendly fiends to the House of the Unusual podcast. I'm your host, Joe Pavlansky, and with me as always are my good buddies, Eddie Guevara, Chuck Caputo, and his beautiful wife, Cheri Caputo. Welcome, everyone.
Hey, okay. How's it going, guys?
All right.
Hello.
Hey, there you are.
Woo!
All right, guys. So, yeah, we've had there's been a busy week, and I think for everybody, but you know what? We're going to see what you guys are up to. So, Chuck and Cheri, what's going on? And, well, yeah, we'll see what's going on in your guys' neck of the woods.
Yeah, we're over here in Pittsburgh land. Yeah, pretty good.
Well,
We've been knocking these shows off, and she's been coming with me, so it's nice that she can keep me company.
Let's explain to the people out there that unfortunately Chuck, I think a storm through the area or something threw off his internet, so he's trying to use the phone today. So Chuck, you can start again because everything that you said kind of muffled out a little.
Yeah, I think you're catching a little bit of that storm that's coming through here too. So I'm hoping my internet stays up because we've got about 40 miles an hour wind here.
Yeah, we've had some problems getting online, but you know what? I've been keeping very busy with the magic shows. We've been knocking them off. I have another one tomorrow and another show, and Cheri's going to come with me, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Good deal. So Cheri, how have you been enjoying retirement?
Oh, loving it. Really love it. Yeah. I don't know how I found time to work.
No desire to go back or to, part-time or nothing like that?
No, not at all. Moving on.
Good. I don't blame you.
Yeah, just moving forward, right?
Yeah, she was a nurse she was a registered nurse for 31 years.
Oh, wow.
That's enough.
That's
plenty enough. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, time to just relax.
That's right. Enjoy life.
It's true.
Yeah, Chuck will keep you busy enough.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
And we go and work out at the gym, and we've been doing a lot of different things. So.
And we'd like to get into golf as soon as it does finally.
Yeah, when the weather breaks
completely. We'd like to go golfing. That's always a lot of fun.
Yeah. I tell you, the closest I get to golf is miniature golf, man. That's it. Some putt, that's all I could do.
Yeah,
that sounds like fun.
You know what? We keep it as a hobby. We're not very good. You know what? We're first to admit it. But if you go 9 holes, it's not that bad. 18 holes is too much, but 9 holes is pretty good.
For us old
For us old timers, yeah.
Yeah, something to keep busy, a new hobby. So yeah, that's good. I'm glad to hear you guys are keeping busy and enjoying life finally instead of working constantly.
That's right.
That's
getting the yard together. It's coming up to planting flower time, and doing a lot of stuff around the house.
Cool, good deal. So Eddie, what's new over in Jersey land? I heard you're still moving, huh?
Yeah, well, this is turning into a slight nightmare. I've done already 3 trucks, and it looks like I got to rent another 15-footer, and I'm going to do tonight like 1 or 2 more trips in my car. I've got a total of 10 trips in my car so far.
Oh, man.
And I honestly don't understand how in the world I managed to grow so much. I mean, I found so many things, and I'm going to be posting pictures probably tonight, because I have at least 30, 40 photographs of things I've uncovered that I didn't even know I've had. So I've taken the chance to open up a few boxes and take photographs of the contents inside.
Oh, wow. That sounds cool.
I'll put it in the forum. People be able to look at it, and I guess whatever. Some people salivate over it. Some people whatever. I'm about to toss it in the river. I honestly didn't. I mean, it's become overwhelming for 2 reasons. One is it's the time of the year that I'm moving. My son is in the police academy, so he's not around to help. So I'm doing it by myself. And right now, when you're talking about golfing and stuff, I'm thinking that if I go golfing right now, the way I feel, I'll take a lounge chair, and when I hit the ball, I'll sit down for an hour before I go retrieve it.
There you go.
Maybe whatever, have a dog retrieve it for me if I could. I don't feel like walking. And right now, the fact that I have to do a trip tonight has me like, ugh, because if not, it's never going to be finished.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
crazy.
what. I seen some of those pictures. Yeah, I think the problem is that is that you collect everything. You know, it's not just one thing. You collect everything.
Too much.
Yeah. Wow.
I found yesterday a bunch of Lionel trains, and I'm like, oh my God, even trains, man. You know what?
Trains.
Yeah, you know what it is with me is I got in the beginning. I think it's like this. You start mail order and you love the stuff you grow up and you want to have. You want to have, the X-ray glasses, the 7-foot Ghost, the Polaris Sub. And then you have that item you can't find, which in my case is like the robot plants and stuff. I know, take a drink, everybody.
Take a drink.
And then what happens is I think subconsciously you want to fill those gaps in. And what you do is anything that resembles a robot, anything that resembles mail order, you start buying. And I'm thinking that because, I mean, honestly, to have 4 10x10 storage rooms, plus a 10x30, that's 30 feet deep by.
Wow, that is crazy.
And not be able to, I mean, it's just crazy. I saw a collection of Popular Science because I bought the ads. I have a collection of Popular Science that goes back 1927, I think it is, the 12 issues. I have, if you guys remember that famous magazine that we spoke, it's called Science and Invention. And
a
1923 issue. They're oversized. They're like the really big, large Life magazines used to be, large like that.
Yep.
And obviously, a lot of people might not remember, but even Boys Life magazine back in the 60s, early 70s, they were huge like that.
Oh, they were big. I remember that. Yep.
And the thing that made Boys Life so cool was that they had so many novelty ads in them,
Yeah.
Pages after pages. And I mean, that's what made me buy the magazine. At that time, it was only subscription through Boy Scouts. So my cousin was a Boy Scout and he would give me the magazines. But the point I'm trying to say to you, though, is that I don't know how to express, but I've gotten robots. Oh, my gosh. I have so many robots or so many robotic related things. It's insane.
Yeah.
Then I found myself back in the not early 80s, I think like mid 80s, building robots myself. I built one time, which was phenomenal. 7-foot robot. I built it just to look like the one in the ad, cardboard. And I actually bought from Uline or Fidelity Office Products. I forgot what it was. I was able to buy 12 48 inches by 24 inch, the 200-pound test cardboard. They were flat sheets. So I came home, I took a ruler and some duct tape and everything, and I put together a massive 7-foot robot that took me 2.5 weeks. Wow. I was so proud building it, put it together. I had it in my living room, and my wife one day took the advantage of because she told me, you should throw that out. And I'm like, don't worry, I'm going to throw it away. I only said I was going to throw it away because in reality, I was just like shutting her up and pushing it, but she took it for granted and tossed it out of me.
Oh,
wow.
I'm like, where's my robot, man? Oh, I threw it out. You told me you were going to throw it out. I'm like,
wow.
I don't mean that, man.
oh,
I do have a faded photograph of that I have to find, and I'm going to post the sad story. And then after that, I decided to try to build another robot, but I wanted to make it out of wood, or at least a wooden frame with a sheet metal around the outside. That robot I put together took me, but instead I kind of did it wrong because I did like 2x2s and I did a square frame with the 2x2s, and it was kind of weak a little bit. Didn't come out as strong as I wanted. So I had my son. He was like 5-6 years old at the time, and he took the drill and actually took it apart, which was so funny. I had him take it apart, and he had this electric power drill, not electric, like electric meaning battery. And I let him. He was 6 years old, whatever, but he actually did a good job. And then the third one I built, I almost finished it, and then I didn't have the space, and the wife was complaining that I was in the living room.
What does that sound familiar?
I know what she said. I was turning the living room into a garage. Why are you got all these tools here? Ridiculous. And
Tell
then
them
it was
about
kind
the
of
head
funny.
trouble.
I had the robot standing out in the hallway because she didn't want it in the house. And some of the maintenance people in the building, and now the complex where I live is about 300 apartments, and they're like, there are many little townhouses attached, like a gated community. And everybody in the complex had noticed the 7-foot robot in the hallway. So it was kind of like the talk of the town here because of the fact that I was the superintendent back then, and I was pretty kind of involved. It was kind of funny. But anyway, I bought it back in the house. Was finishing it. I bought power wheel motors for it. And when I mean power wheels, from like an old I went on eBay and I got 2 motors from a wheelchair, is what they were. And I was going to make this thing walk just like the 1950s robots, like side by side like that.
Nice.
And well, to make a long story, I put it in my store in display in 1989. Or I had it in the store for a while, and then I took it out. And so the point is, I took it apart. It's been in my storage since. And I have all the sheet metal that goes around it, all that stuff. But I have it. It's still kind of built, semi-built, but not completed. I need to put the parts back together again. But that's what I did. I guess that was a way of me not getting the original robot plans. And subconsciously, I kept myself busy doing that. And it was fun.
Yeah.
Not my wife, it wasn't. She hated it. But I found time building and putting together. So, Chuck, I was kind of like you. I was always tinkering. I bought a power saw. And then, you know what? And then I became lame. And like for the last 7, 8 years, 9 years, I could say I haven't really tinkered with anything. I became kind of like we're just looked at my collection and a little bit of everything from popular science that go back to 1970, every issue to the present to, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And that, turned into where the wife calls me a hoarder. But right now, after, which I've always thought, after carrying and doing 3 truckloads, man, and I'm talking about a 17-foot U-Haul and 15-foot U-Hauls packed to the very back. Still 10 cars, which is a CRV, which is like a semi-truck with seats down, loaded with boxes.
Wow.
And I'm still like a U-Haul away and a couple of other trips. I'm kind of like, I don't know if she's right or not, but
yeah, if you had that stuff in the house, Eddie, you'd be a typical hoarder. You'd have to climb over a mountain of stuff just to get into your house.
That would be crazy, man. And the funny thing about it is that I said, this is back in 2014. I was calling, I don't know why. I got the telephone number for Sotheby's and Christie's in New York. And at the time I was asking if I wanted an appraiser to come out, whatever. I forgot what company they sent me to, and I have to look at the certificate. But anyway, the guy charged me like $260. They came out, they looked at my stuff, they took and you have a phone somewhere?
Wow,
Is that a bird?
it sounds like a duck. We got a duck on here tonight. It's going.
What is that?
I don't know.
Is that you?
You know what, I was looking up at Stupid Comics magazine to see if there was anything new, and they have a green and white button. So I press the green button, and it makes the farts.
Oh, I thought that was a duck.
Oh, that's on the website, not on the comic.
Yeah, it's on the website, and then they have this one.
Oh,
this one sounds.
That sounds like a robot fart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. But anyway, guys, the point is, the whole thing is that I'm about to. They appraised the collection at $1.4 to $1.8 million.
Wow.
2014. So I'm trying to figure out,
how to sell it.
Yeah, sell it and go play golf.
Miniature golf.
Yeah, miniature golf.
Well, actually, I can sell it and start my own flying saucer business with Joe the Investigator.
Yeah, there you go. That's perfect. Wow.
You can even build a prototype, Joe, and put it in your yard, man.
I'll fly away on it, man. Go to distant planets and bring back some collectibles from other planets. Like you go to a different planet and they have their version of comic books or movies on there.
Yeah. Did you end up going out to that thing, Joe, in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, out toward Westmoreland County, out to the MUFON meeting?
Yeah, you know what I did, and I actually ran into a buddy out there, and I made it to about 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then I left. It was
okay.
It was very not good.
Really?
That way.
I'm surprised. Wow.
Yeah, it was very disorganized. There was one good speaker. I didn't really agree with what he was talking about, but it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest were bad.
Wow.
We'll put it this way: is that the buddy I met out there, him and his father-in-law, they left before I did, and about the time that I left at 2 o'clock, there was probably half the people there that were there in the morning.
Wow, man, they got to get on the stick and start making it pretty interesting.
There was, what I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna, talk bad about any of the guests or anything, but they should have, I think, kind of vetted a little bit more of some of the guests, and it wasn't good. And it, like I said, it wasn't from just my perspective. There was a lot of people that were leaving. There was even one lady. I wish I would have known who she was, because I would have shook her hand, that she was calling out one of the guests for kind of gatekeeping information. She had kind of a little spat with him. It was getting a little bit heated, and you could tell he was getting uncomfortable. That he was either lying or trying to withhold information, or a little bit of both. And I think his whole presentation, there was a lot of lies mixed with embellishments and half truths and gatekeeping information. And it wasn't good. Like I said, I left. I just couldn't.
So you hopped back on your flying saucer and went back home to Ohio, huh?
Yeah, took that hour and a half drive back home, and I said, oh well.
Let me tell you, Joe, you gotta have a pretty cheap flying saucer for an hour and a half from me.
Yeah.
It won't take.
What? That flying saucer, it runs on.
Hey, Joe.
What kind of gas?
Joe's getting carried away with that button.
He's getting into that. No, what I was going to tell you guys, and Joe, if you're not aware of this, have you ever looked at a magazine like the Popular Science from the 1980s or 90s?
Yes.
Okay, if you look in the back, and this is something that will be up your alley, because you need to probably build your own saucer so it won't sound like that.
Does it run on?
Yes, it runs on. But the thing about this flying saucer that's wacky is they used to advertise. There was before, people don't realize this. I'm sure you guys do, but when we were young in the 70s, me and Chuck, man, they used to sell rubber power airplanes. Cox COX used to make like a gas power. Anything we had.
Gas?
I think it was like that, because a Cox, it was like $30 back then.
I remember.
A Mustang, a silver Mustang.
Yep.
It was gas powered. The only way this thing flew is with a string that you held on your hand. The gas powered it, and you had to spin it around the air. You remember that, Chuck?
I do remember that. That was cool, so man.
We had nothing. I mean, it doesn't matter how you tried. You couldn't get nothing off the ground. There was this rubber band power airplanes that were balsa wood.
I remember that. I used to play with those. I'd take them up to the cemetery because it was real windy. It would help make it lift a little bit.
It lifted, but they only went like 5 feet up in the air, and they crashed.
They crashed, and then the balsa wood would break. It was terrible.
And then when the sharper image came around, they started selling, which I have an original, like a flying saucer that took off, and the only way it worked was by a long, it was tethered to the base, and it will only go like 3 feet in the air, and it lasted like 10 minutes. Horrible. Yeah.
It's horrible.
So now they got little things that fly off your hand. I guess that we didn't know anything about aerodynamics before the 90s, to be honest with you. And I mean, before 2000, because honestly, any toy that would fly, if you look anywhere, it was never airborne. Only kites were. And even flying a kite, unless you knew how, the thing ran up in the air and it would turn around and hit the ground again.
Yeah.
I spent trying to fly a kite for almost 20 years, man. I could never get the darn thing off the ground.
I tell you what, way back when I was a kid, the best kites were the paper ones. If those were built nice and sturdy, they would take off pretty good. Like I said, we'd always go to the cemetery. It was really windy up there. My dad would take my brother and I and would build those paper kites, and they would get pretty good. Those plastic ones weren't as good for some reason. It always crashed to the ground.
There was one called that I still have my original called the pupper kite that was about 10 feet long, tall and inflated. And those kind of, but the wind would pull up. I mean, I never flew it, but it looked like it would fly. And then, of course, there was catalogs called Into the Wind and all this. They sold $100 and something kites, $500 kites.
Yeah.
They, of course, would, but then you couldn't be under 150 pounds because you might take off with the thing, you know?
That would be scary.
There's huge sailing kites that are really huge. But anyway, the point I'm trying to say is that Joe, and this is Joe's cup of tea here, he's got to take a thing that doesn't work on that all right. Yes, because that one takes too long to travel. You have there was an ad that sold 3 different plans on how to build 3 different flying saucers. I forget what exactly they were. I sent away, it was like $20 each plan. I have it somewhere. I remember looking at it. I never got much into it, whatever. But there is, Joe, and I mentioned this, Joe, there is I saw about 4 years ago, I was looking on the internet and there was like a Superman, which I think we spoke about this. It was a kite shaped like a Superman and it flew, man. And it looks like the guy was flying in the air and he looked like a human being because it was cool. It was like, I don't know, $200-300. I've been looking for it because I would love to buy that thing. And I think that's the one that they confused in Los Angeles for being a guy up there in the air.
I think I remember that. Yeah, that was cool.
Well, I tell you what, Chuck had mentioned cemeteries and, some paranormal stuff. And I was, what was it? About 2 days ago, I was at the local cemetery. It's kind of up on a hill, and there's some really old mausoleum type graves and some, tombstones that are kind of cracked in half and all that. A lot of it goes back to the early 1800s and all that.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you, they're beautiful. So I was kind of just taking just a leisurely walk, and I really wanted to look at some of the older tombstones that were out there and see the oldest years I could find, and just some of the architecture is just beautiful. So I had stopped by this one, and it was just a little, your typical tombstone, and I think it was from the gentleman had passed like around 18, if I remember right, 1823, I believe it was.
Wow.
So, I mean, you're talking almost 200 years old. So I was just kind of standing there, just looking at it like, man, this is this tombstone has lasted this long, and I was kind of wondering about the guy in there. So I was looking around. I thought I heard something. You're in the cemetery, like, what's freaking around? I'm in Youngstown, somebody coming up. So thought I heard something, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's wind or chipmunks around or squirrels, because it's right next to the wooded area. So I'm kind of just just standing there looking at the scenery and everything, and I hear something again. I'm like, what the heck is that noise? So I get down on the knee because I thought it was coming. I'm like, okay. I'm like, is it, can I hear it lower? Maybe I'm catching some wind or anything. So nobody's around. It's just me. And I hear it a little bit louder. I'm like, what the heck is this? So I put my ear to the ground by the tombstone, and I hear.
So that was definitely it.
I bet Joe was an annoying kid.
The 200-year-old corpse was farting under there.
Yeah, you know what it is. If you look at Joe, he was that little kid that plays in the magic show. You go, I said, quiet, boy, you bother me.
Oh, my goodness.
I hope I had everybody out there going. I was like, man, that would be great. I could get it.
You had me going, Hey, but not to change the subject. I was watching a series. It looks like it's about a year old. It's called Cursed Movies.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, if you go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go into your local cable system and maybe talk through the microphone and try and find it, I tell you, it's pretty interesting. The Omen is on there. Gregory Peck, who played the father on there, his plane actually got struck by lightning when he was traveling to the studio. There was another actor whose plane got struck by lightning. So that was two people right there that got struck. One of I don't know if it was a director was like involved in some type of an accident and he got killed. I mean, it was numerous things. And then it went to the Poltergeist movie, which we all know. Dominique Dunn, the older daughter, was strangled by her boyfriend. The young girl who played Carol Ann, she died of like a bowel obstruction. She was only about maybe 10 years old or something. The guy that played the Reverend in like the second one, he had cancer when he was actually filming it. I mean, he was really like a skeletal type of a look to him. And then it went to the Wizard of Oz. There was problems on there. It's just very interesting. And then plus it went to The Crow, the movie The Crow with Brandon Lee. Of course, he died at a very young age, and his dad, Bruce Lee, died at a very young age as well. So you know what, if you want to watch something that's totally different, check it out. Though it's.
I tell you what was interesting, because I did see a few of those. I just noticed that the Wizard of Oz is the newest one, but during the first Poltergeist, when he was in the pit where it was all muddy and it was raining. And the skeletons come out. Those are actually real skeletons that they use. I guess during that time they had deals with local hospitals and local universities to borrow those skeletons for stuff like that.
Wow, that's
what movie are you talking about, Joe? Which movie?
The original Poltergeist.
Really?
I believe it was 1983.
Well, it's funny that you guys say that, with the original. You remember that story when we were talking? I think we talked about it one time in one of the past podcasts, that there was a haunted house, like one of those amusement rides in one of the parks. And one of the guys up in the wall was actually the dead body of some criminal. I forgot who it was. And they don't know how in the world it got there.
Isn't that something? Wow. We had a costume store out here. Remember, Cheri? Maybe about 12 years ago, it made the news. It was just outside of Pittsburgh somewhere, and there was a skeleton that was laying in a coffin. It turned out to be real. Somebody had noticed that this thing looks a little too authentic, and they mentioned it. And a guy come in and said, "Yeah, this is a real skeleton. Where'd you get this?" So they had to do some research. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but yeah, it was in a local costume company.
Well,
That's crazy.
Yeah, but even before going too far like that, I forgot where it was, in Canada or something. They had a museum, and the guy in I forget what it was. He had 3 mummies in the museum, and I think he was closing down or going out of business, and he sold. And it turned out to be that one of the mummies was an actual museum in the museum. Was Ramses II. That's the guy that was around Moses' time,
right?
And they were wondering, how in the world did that guy get here? It was authentic, and that's how they found Ramses.
Wow.
Somebody must have sneaked it out of Cairo or whatever. So they, I think Egypt sued and they got it back. But that's crazy how sometimes those things appear out of nowhere. But
I always thought it was cool when horror movies, especially when they did like the kind of like mad laboratory scenes, and they had all the Jacob's ladder, all the sparks and stuff.
Oh, I love it. The water, the bubbles, the concoction in the tubes of bubble. It's neat.
Well, I always liked when those scenes there was a skeleton hanging somewhere. I always thought that was really cool that it was. I know there was a lot of silent movies, and I'm trying to think of the one silent movie where it shows his lab and there's a skeleton hanging with a clock right above it, and I always thought it was really cool. I can't remember that. I did a article on it a few years ago, but I always thought it was cool because of the skeleton hanging with the clock.
Yeah, that would be
kind of
cool.
like, hey, your time's up.
Well, if you think of that, post it on the forum. That would be kind of cool, man.
That would be. And Joe, I'm not sure, but I think that I read somewhere. I don't know if this is correct in saying this or not, but the Forgotten Prisoner of Castlemare, I could be wrong in this, like I said, from Aurora, was inspired due to one of those films. Like the guy who did that, because the Forgotten Prisoner is just that. The guy's in that. I mean, I love the artwork of that because it showed like the skeleton just looking up in the air, screaming, and just died there, man, and the dungeon and stuff. I think that's one of the, that's my favorite model kit of all, the Forgotten Prisoner, because even though it was Dracula as a kid, for the Bela Lugosi look. But that kid itself, the Forgotten Prisoner, it's just what Joe is talking about. There's nothing better, cooler than when you go to a dungeon, you got a skeleton there.
Oh, it's great.
I love
it. Yeah, I use a few talking skulls during, like the Halloween shows. I have a skull that, will like clack his jaw once for yes, twice for no, for like card selections and stuff like that. That's a really, really cool thing to use in magic shows, especially around Halloween.
Didn't you sell me that, Chuck?
Yeah, I sold you the smaller one. Yep. Yeah, that's a beautiful one. Yep.
Yeah. And also another thing is I was looking the other day, because here's what's happened. As you guys know, I've been working on the plans for the Houdini robot, and I was looking through some videos, and I forget what the reason I was looking at the videos, because I needed to come up and send Todd something, and it was a title. I don't know what was sending, but anyway, I was going through, and I found the St. Augustine trip that I did with my daughter and son about two and a half years ago. And I'm walking down, and it passes in front of a tombstone when Joe is talking about. But this is funny because when you know how when you're walking down the street and the end of the street turns into like a triangle where the block ends.
Right.
The triangle we're talking is 10, 15 feet thick. In that area, there's an old cemetery that's about, I think the cemetery is no more than 20 feet by maybe 50 feet wide.
I've seen it. You know what? I've seen a few of those. Those are cool, and they're really old, right?
Yeah. Well, the tombstone had 1740 something.
Holy smokes.
Well, you can't even to like 18 something. And I said, oh my God. And then the coolest thing is when you go into the Castillo San Marcos, which is the only known castle in North America, is made of coral, like crushed corals.
Oh, wow.
And like each wall is like 8 feet thick, whatever. Joe, you're never going to break in there, buddy. So the whole thing is that if you look at that, all that on the wall itself, of course, some of it has like plexiglass trying to cover it. So people won't touch it. It says like in Spanish, because you can see the Spaniards were there. And it's like, we arrived here in 14 something, and it has dates like that. I'm like, oh my.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Hey, Chuck,
that's crazy, man.
Hey, Chuck, the name of that movie with it in it is called Genuine. It's from 1920. And if you guys want to see a photo of it, I just posted it in the forum. So for everyone out there, if you want to go to houseoftheunusual.com in our forum section, just posted it under the Monster Kid section on page 2, and it's a skeleton where the clock replaces the face, and it's kind of in the Mad Doctor's kind of science room, and it's it's not that kind of laboratory you start seeing in the 30s and 40s and into the 50s, and all that, but it's very creepy in its own way, and it still has a lot of that German expressionist to the decor of that scene. So definitely check it out, man. And if you guys never seen the movie, it's a very good movie. It's called Genuine, and it's a silent movie from 1920. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
I'm going to bring up something when you mentioned the site, Joe. Joe, you had earlier, I think, connected, and that's when I realized what I think it's happening. Yeah, not too many people know that about a week ago or so, I was called by Todd that somebody had hacked our site. Apparently, somebody who had nothing better to do registered their name 47 times.
Wow.
And they started posting all sorts of things all over the site. So I contacted Todd and told him, thanks for telling me. And then I got on the telephone with Wix, and we were trying to figure out how to block this guy. So two things that happen is for members that are going to become members, the two things is going to happen. One is they got one of those, which I hate them, but you know what? Got you things where you have to prove you're human.
Right.
The other thing is a lot of members that are registered might be asked to register again, and they go across, they send me the email, and I have to approve every membership now. I hate the idea that this happened, but I mean, this guy is not one time. He's hit us 3 times already.
That's crazy.
Last couple of months, I was able to block him. He did it one time. This time he did 47 individuals.
That's ridiculous.
And he posted 47 different things all across the forum with different names. And Todd said his, the notification bell was going nuts on his phone, so he had to shut it off.
Wow.
Are you aware of this, Joe?
I wasn't aware of that because for some reason I haven't been getting notifications, but I did go on at one time. I think after the last time I spoke with you, and you had told me that somebody was posting spam on there, and I had went on and seen somebody posting, so I blocked them and then removed their post and them.
Wow. You know what? That's a shame that somebody who doesn't have a life,
nothing better to do.
Yeah, with nothing better to do, that probably has a mental disorder, is going to, put on 40, go into 47 accounts and post this stuff.
Well,
I'm sure it's under investigation, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, what happened is that the spam gets forwarded to like the FBI type of thing.
Oh, good.
But the problem with that is that the individual in question went by I think it was Happy a Day, something like that, or Have a Nice Day. I forgot what the name was, but then he changed the numbers. Like he did 7740, 4150, like that, and he did it 47 times.
You know what I say to somebody like that?
Uh-oh.
Oh, that's it.
That's it.
Hey, you know what? We were real quick. We were talking about the forum, and there's something I really wanted to talk about today. So I want to get to it before we run out of time today. And it's definitely want to thank Alba Labs on the forum site for posting this, because I had forgot all about it. And it is the Pet Rock. Now,
yeah, I remember that.
There's a really cool one. I never had an original Pet Rock when I was young, but when we first heard about it, we would go get rocks from the field next to our house, and we would clean them up real nice, polish them up, and put little googly eyes on them. And with cray paper or construction paper, put a smiley face or something on it. So we used to do cool stuff like that, but this really brought back some memories when Alba Labs put on the forum site here about the Pet Rock. So for anybody out there that doesn't know what the Pet Rock is, which if we have any younger listeners might not know, so the Pet Rock was created by Gary Dahl in 1975.
Oh, wow.
In the first 6 months, he sold over 1 million of them for $4 each.
Wow.
He's a
millionaire, and they pretty much were discontinued after the first 6 months because the sales were so low. But the Pet Rock was it was something that was so simple to make, and it was just this cool little thing that it was almost like kind of like a shot at the toys out there, because this guy just made something so stupid and so simple, and it was such a genius idea.
It was a good idea.
Yeah, wow. And many people, started to imitate it over the years. Like there was one that I seen that was posted on the forum, the lovable, rubbable, leash-trained Pebble Pal, which I thought was really cool. So, I guess there are some knockoffs out there, but what did you guys have a Pet Rock? Did you guys ever experience this cultural phenomenon?
Yeah, you had one. I had one.
Yeah, you had one.
And that was around the time that the mood ring came out, too, if I'm not mistaken, about the mid-70s.
It's a shame I didn't keep it, though.
Now, guys, what do you remember what you named your Pet Rock?
I called him Little Joe.
Little Joe.
I think I called him Ralph.
Well, I got some news. I don't know if I've mentioned this in the past podcast, but ready for this? And it's all around the Pet Rock. I was actually going to write it on the forum, and I said, let me sit down because it's going to take me about half an hour to write. In my job last year, there's a gentleman. He's now in charge. I'm not going to say his name because, of course, people find he's in charge of the entire country's Revlon makeup line. Like he's the one in charge of all the the advertising and stuff. And he goes to me, Eddie, I got to tell you a funny story. And I said, well, he goes, when I was little, my father, because, my father's over from Sweden, whatever he said. And there was this gentleman who had my father print this box. And he goes, did you ever hear the Pet Rock? And I go, yeah. And he showed me, and I couldn't. He goes, my father's like 90 something. He says, he was telling me the father actually 90 something. He had passed away. I don't remember right now or not, but he was cleaning up the house of his dad because, the house, the guy, whatever, passed away or or went to a nursing home. I don't remember the exact reason, but he goes and he got me an original non-folded pet rock box.
Wow.
Because what happened was his father was the one printing the boxes for this individual in this country.
Isn't that something?
Said that his father would send him to the brook with his cousin, and he would go and pick up rocks and put them in the boxes. And the thing I'm trying to say is that he was so fascinated by the story. He said his father made thousands and thousands. He got rich off of that. But what I was going to tell you is that I've been trying, and this is funny that you brought up the pet rock, and Al Babas is doing that in the forum, because it's something that's been in my mind for some time. And I've been trying to get a hold of him to be in our podcast and tell the story of the pet rock.
Yeah, that would be interesting. That would be very interesting.
But I met him. And the best part, I thought one of the coolest thing he did was get me an original box that he found in his father's house. I just got to know where I put it.
Oh, that would be cool. I think around that time too. I think they were called clicker clackers. Remember there were like those two hard balls that were on those strings, and you'd always smash your fingers. I mean, whether you tried to or not. I mean, I'd always go ow, and I'd throw it. You know.
Yeah, Chuck, the reason for the clicker clackers to stop is because they were made of glass.
That's right.
And they prohibit the sale of them due to the fact that a lot of people were getting hurt.
Yeah.
Joe, what we're talking about are the two balls that you go tack, 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 tack. And you're supposed to swing there like two pendulums. Yep, exactly like that, Joe. Oh gosh.
Yeah, I remember the clicker clackers, and then while I was looking at some of the pet rock stuff, I was looking at the Chia Pet. I didn't realize the Chia Pet actually came out in 1977. I thought that was a product of like the mid 80s and all that, but
that was when I was young, and they used to sell.
Yeah.
In fact,
I never had a Chia Pet either.
Johnson Smith Company was very famous in the 70s, selling the little head of the guy growing hair.
I remember. Yep.
Yeah, it was like a Chia Pet, but instead of the Chia Pet, it was just the face of a guy.
Yeah,
right.
With hair. That's very old, Joe. Very old. You're behind the times, Joe.
I'm telling you, man. I must be, because I didn't know it was that old. I thought it was from the 80s, but yeah, those were definitely some throwbacks, man. And are you guys, Eddie? You might be maybe familiar more with this, but are there other pet rock knockoffs out there?
There's quite a few that have come throughout the years. Quite a few, at least 3 or 4. But I can tell you something. Another thing, other than the pet rock, that was super big is they used to create this little thing called the fidget. And what it was a little small, about, I don't know, 2 inches across, little glass plastic thing that when you move your finger in the background, you were able to create different things. Do you remember that, Chuck?
Oh, I do remember that. Yep, I do. Yep.
And then they had one thing that was like a window, and it kind of looked like an oval-shaped mirror that women use in the bathroom, that type of thing like that. But it had inside like landscapes, and it was kind of like with black sand mixed with white sand, and it would create different diagrams. All that stuff were very big with the mood ring, and all that stuff came like in the mid 70s. The pet rock, though, the problem with the pet rock, though, it did come, and it was a quick go and come type of thing.
It came and went fast. How about the worm? You remember the little fuzzy worm on a string? That goes back quite a while.
The fuzzy worm on the spring? Are you talking about the squirmel?
Yeah. Yep. Squirmel.
Yeah, the squirmel, when it came on, it was like the magic chick, and then there was a thing called the pet ghost, which didn't last too long. They sell them on eBay now for like $20-$30 an original. But
is that the one that you sent me, Eddie? The pet? That's cool. That's really neat.
Yeah, well, the original pet ghost, if you remember that, what it was, they showed it on TV. It would have like a top hat, little table that was made of cardboard. Excuse me, and you open it up, and the ghost will float in the air between your fingers.
Mm-hmm.
The squirmel, just when the squirmel came out, that took the world by storm.
Yeah, that was very, very popular.
You know what's funny? I actually, in a flea market years ago, like 20 years ago, I bought the display that you would put the worm inside, and it would travel all up and down through like strings and stuff attached to it. Nice. I don't know where it is. I've been going crazy looking for that, because I know Dave Haversack has asked me for it, and I'm hoping. In fact, that was in back of my mind the other day as I was moving stuff. I wonder if it's in one of these boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying, the squirmel was big. But when you're talking about the pet rock, There was one that was called something like the pet brick. It was like a piece of brick or something. I forgot exactly. They had, I think, a rock from Alcatraz. Like that whole idea.
Mm-hmm.
What from the pet rock did come, if you guys remember, before the Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yeah.
They all had the same idea of the rock that you had a birth certificate for or whatever. They came the Cabbage Patch Kids.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Because of the birth certificate, took off as a storm. Then they had another one. If you guys remember, I forgot the name of this, Joe, but this is definitely a copy of the pet rock, which is like a little robot type of thing that it would automatically, I forgot the name of it, but it had like a little face that would turn on, and the robot, you could teach it as you bought it. Gosh, I don't remember what it was even called. Do you have any idea, Joe?
No, I don't know. I'm not real familiar with any of the knockoffs of the pet rock.
Yeah. Well, when you say knockoff of the pet rock, it's just a fact is that the pet rock's idea was, here's a pet you don't have to feed. The food is very cheap. and basically you didn't have to even walk or anything. So they gave you up a rock. And all you do is they had like a certificate. You can name it. And so it was basically a stupid idea. They just took off and made the guy a fortune selling rocks.
Oh, yeah. That was a phenomenon. And then around 1974, 75, I remember the Marshall Brodeen Magic Kit, the TV Magic Kit came out.
Oh, and that was big, though. That last Marshall Brodeen to this day still sells some of that stuff. I mean,
But that one that came out, it was on a commercial every day after school, and I'd watch it. I bugged my parents so bad that they got me one for Christmas, and I was so excited. That's nice. Oh, it was great.
Yeah, those magic sets were phenomenal. The TV magic cards, the TV. We sold a couple of sets, but I got to tell you though, Marshall Brodeen did pretty well, I guess, because of the ads and
yes, he did.
But you know what they call fads. Fads are like things that pop up. In fact, there's a book out there that shows you all the different fads from Whammo, the
Whammo was very popular. I remember.
Oh yeah. Do you remember the Super Bounce Ball from Whammo?
Oh, absolutely.
Whammo. That was like a big thing in there when we were kids.
Yeah, I had the Crazy Car. I think that was by Whammo. It was a circular car with circular wheels there was a handle on the inside of each one, and then your hand would grip it and you'd rotate it. That's how it would propel, but it would go in like a circular motion. It was called Crazy Car. That may have been by Whammo. I'm not sure. That was man.
I think it was, and
1972, I'd say.
But
maybe
you know what? It sounds crazy, but even like there was something about airborne stuff. Even the frisbee, you throw it up, and that's I think the only toy that actually got airborne. Man, because I tried every type of remote control, aircraft, whatever. Could never get the darn thing to fly, man.
No. Hey, speaking of airborne stuff, how about jarts? Boy, they were pretty safe, huh?
Oh, yeah, those are great.
Which one?
We used to have. I remember having those.
Yeah, jarts, I think they were called. Man, those things were they were impelling people's heads and everything.
What is that? I'm trying to think. What's that? I don't remember the name.
Like Joe said, that's those lawn darts, but I think they were called jarts, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, It was like a big dart. It was a set of darts with big wings. Like you'd throw it in the air and you'd have to go into a hoop. You'd land it like horseshoes, but in a hoop. It was laid on the grass, and people were getting seriously injured by that.
Yeah, they made so many toys. Even that thing with it's funny because the glass balls that you clackers, whatever they were called.
Yeah.
And those things, my cousin had one. She used to go pop, 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 pop. She was good at it. And I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me, man? That thing could have freaking taken my eye out. You know?
Oh, yeah. I'd always scratch my fingers constantly. Yeah. I remember I'd get so mad.
They were not that hard to do once you got the ring of it. But But like the moon rings themselves, when they came out, they were selling that stuff for $10 a piece.
Isn't that hard to believe?
Yeah, and then it went down, which is crazy at the time. Then it went down to like $1.
What, 99 cents? Yeah.
What about the Gut Buster? Remember that thing when they first the Gut Buster was this thing that you put in your window, in your doorknob, and it had I don't know if it was Gut Buster. And remember, you will lie down on the floor and you attach, it was like basically two pulleys
Right.
attached to your doorknob.
I remember.
You have a hoop on each pulley and the rope, and you would put one on each foot and one in your hand, and then you pull up and one foot go up in the air.
I remember. Yeah, I remember. Oh,
man,
yeah.
that thing was sold for $20-some, and they sold thousands. No,
Wow.
no, the gut buster is the big giant spring that you attach both your feet to it, and then you're supposed to do sit-ups with it. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember. Back when we were dating, Cheri, I bought you.
We had that ab.
The ab
roller.
Yeah, but what's that thing with Suzanne Summers? What we?
Yeah, I was just gonna tell you. No, that one.
Thigh Master.
Kegel something. Actually, I'm not pronouncing it right. What is it, Joe? You're the fitness guy. What do they call that? Kegel? Like when you between your legs, you press a spring together and it tries to do your.
Yeah,
I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, this is to help your thighs. I bought Cheri a
Thigh Master.
Thigh Master, what by Suzanne Summers.
Yeah, and Susan Summer made a fortune with that.
Oh yeah. And I seen a little documentary about that. Those things at first weren't selling real good until she put a little page that was enclosed. It was her workout page, but that little stupid page, that's what made it sell. Is that crazy?
Well, that's the whole thing, because it showed her, and then they made that into gosh, I can't pronounce the name. I think it's Kegel or something. Exercise.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like, it's supposed to help women that let's say are having urinary tract problems, and they can it helps them with that type of exercise. Yeah. And they went on and they took it to the next level, and they even some to this day with different names. But then I remember there was another one. This was kind of funny. It showed women how to, let's say, make their butt tighter, bigger. And
the butt. Is that called the butt blaster or something?
I think it was a pulley.
Yeah.
Attached to your doorknob again.
Another pulley.
And the leg will go up. I mean, honestly, it's funny how people would market those things.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
And what about that? Remember that spring, that it was a spring you bend in the middle?
Oh, I remember that.
Real tight, and you had to strain it out. And
I remember that.
Like Lou Ferrigno bending it, and you would think that it would make you like that. Well, my father-in-law one day, he went to use it, and because they had like the bicycle grips on each side.
Yeah, they had the bicycle grips.
Yeah, one of them slipped out, and it would have almost broke the heck out of his jaw.
Oh my God.
That was so dangerous. But the most popular one, I think, was the Bullmaster.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Bullmaster is a big thing with the two strings attached. You have to
Oh yeah. Hey, how about the Ginsu knives? Do you remember the commercial? The guy would be inside of a car. He'd be you don't want to cut a radiator hose with a knife, do you? But you could do it with a Ginsu knife. I mean, it was just goofy. Didn't even make any sense. Some of the commercials.
The biggest one that I think took people for the ride the most was DD7. Remember when the guy would put something in ink and he put DD7 and it turned clear white?
Oh, yeah. You
remember the guy would go on TV, national TV, I forgot who it was, and they sold you this tubes that looked like a toothpaste tube, and then they would put it in, and if you have a stain in your clothes, you add DD1. Yeah. That was such a lie.
Yeah, Cheri bought something like that when we first got married about 30 years ago, because I remember I was wearing a tuxedo shirt with my magic shows. It actually ate holes in it. Remember? It chewed up.
That wasn't it.
Oh, was it something else? Yeah. Was something else she put in her, chewed holes in my shirt. I remember.
Yeah, you know what it was, that OxyClean.
OxyClean or something. Yeah.
Oh, OxyClean.
Yeah, we never used it.
Yeah, it actually chewed holes in my shirts.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. You know what's kind of funny, though? You know that people don't realize that, but that stuff that came out in the 80s and 90s is what made the government, especially the Federal Trade Commission, hit big companies like Sears, Kmart for false advertising, and that's what messed up the comic book mail order age. But then again, let's be honest, comic books, they rip off little kids like there's no tomorrow. But you know what, though? I miss those days. That's what makes us a collectors, man. I like getting ripped off.
I tell you what, I think we miss getting ripped off. You know.
Yeah, that's what I miss, because that was it. Let me dreams that weren't real, and then you kind of, But let's admit it, like the fact with the 7-foot ghost obeys your commands. Yeah, the string.
Yeah, you control meant a string. I know.
Yeah, you control and obeys your commands were the biggest things in the comic books. But let's be honest, though. They somehow fulfilled what they said, but ironically, in a
in a crazy
way, you know?
Yeah, a very deceptive way. I think I bought those dinosaurs, Eddie. Remember there was like 6 dinosaurs and they looked really cool. It was like $1.99. It was like balloons you blow up, and it had flat dinosaur feet that you put. There's a slit, and you blow the balloon up. You tie the end. You put it between the feet. And I remember I showed my mother that. She goes, "You got ripped off again. What is wrong with you?" She was so mad.
You know, in the book Mail Order Mysteries, mine are shown it was 7 gigantic dinosaurs for $2.98.
That's it.
The thing that got me on that this was kind of funny though, because as a kid I was going to order it and I didn't. And then when I got married, like 2 years in, my youngest daughter's born, and I go into a store in the mall, and the store was Channel 13. I think it was called Channel 13, whatever. And they were selling this 2 feet tall dinosaurs that were inflatable for like $17 each one. Mm. I don't know what made me think. I mean, this was insane. I see the picture of the dinosaurs and ready for this. Is going to make you laugh. I ordered it. They still had it. They originally used to be $1 back in the 70s. But when it was like $2.98 for the thing, and I ordered them. And when I got the balloons, I was like, "Wow, man!" So the company kept ripping off people up to like the 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
I still have mine. You can see them in the, you know, what do you call it? You can see them in the Mail Order Mysteries. If you look inside, you'll see.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
One of them I actually blew up, and it's kind of a little more stretched out, so I didn't use it there. But it was all with the same idea. The balloon, there was the doll-shaped balloon.
Right.
And really crummy line art. And that's the same balloon that they used in 7 Creatures from Outer Space, the 48-inch talking monster from outer space. All those ads from the 70s used the same balloons.
I tell you what, I never wised up. I kept buying that stuff. You know, like there was a good friend of mine I grew up with. He got robbed one time, and he said, "That's it, I'm done." I kept buying crap. You know, I just didn't have any sense. I just kept doing it.
Nobody did. I still to this day I like buying junk just for the.
Yeah.
I go into about 3 years ago, they came out with perfume called Alien in Macy's. I take a look at it. Smell like an alien thing. In fact, if Joe put it, he guarantees carry away all the ghosts that come around. And it was $80, $79. I actually bought a bottle because of the bottle.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I'm that stupid, you know?
Yeah, I don't know, man. We just got that in us. We like the mail order stuff. I know. We get excited when a package comes in the mail. Let's face it. I think everybody.
Look, I don't drink coffee, and rarely do I do. But there's this one that's called Death something coffee in Whole Foods, and I paid $15 just because the box was so phenomenal.
Ooh, we'll have to check that out. Death coffee.
Strongest coffee on earth, something like that. But it's called Death something. Like
I think that's the only thing that pumps through my veins is coffee.
Yeah, I tell you what, if I don't drink 2 cups in the morning with Cheri, both of us, we won't wake up. We have to. We have to drink 2 cups in the morning. We have to.
I probably go through about 4 cups a day, man, and it keeps me going.
I stopped one time that the doctor told me it's not good for the prostate and stuff, especially when you're over the age of 50. It makes, enlarge and stuff. So I try to stay away from too much caffeine.
Yeah, you're probably better off. You're probably better off.
You know what, guys? Talking about buying things like that on Amazon, they have things like the hottest. Like for example, they have one thing called hot sauce from hell and all that stuff. I buy that stuff just because of the bottling on it.
Oh, the labels are beautiful.
The labels are phenomenal.
I think we bought our son Michael a couple of those. Remember? It was like the Grim Reaper, the Grim.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was very.
There's a potato chip that they had a challenge because every time these things come out, you go on YouTube. It's like the challenge. It's supposed to be 1 million jolts of whatever heat, and it's a what do you call those potato chips? They're triangular.
Tortilla chips.
Yeah, tortilla.
It's supposed to be the hottest tortilla, and they sell you 1 tortilla chip for $40. I bought it for the boxing.
Tell them, Cheri.
It's so hot that you see the people on the YouTube do it, and they're running for their lives.
Yeah, hey guys, my son got that. Somebody bought it for him for his birthday a couple years ago. My older son Michael, and he took a piece, and oh my God, he was so sick. I didn't know what to do. I just told him he was taking everything he could think of. He was burning, and then I said, "Well, drink some milk." and finally that settled it down. But yeah, those can be pretty wicked.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I hate to step in here, but we got about 40 seconds left, so I'm going to wrap it up real quick. So I want to thank everybody out there for joining us once again this week, and a thank you to Eddie, Chuck, and Cheri for joining us in great conversation. So everybody out there, make sure you subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. Give us a good review, please. We would appreciate it. And also check us out on YouTube, House of the Unusual. Subscribe to our channels, like our videos, and Eddie and Chuck are posting every week. And you could also find this at our flagship site, houseoftheunusual.com, with our free forum and much more to do. So that's it. Good night, everyone.
Always a pleasure.
Joe, you didn't tell me that you can grow hair with the chip if you ate one. But anyway, I was going to tell you that. Well, goodbye, everybody. God bless.
Okay, God bless. Bye-bye.